In our examples so far, we've been assuming that things load instantly when a new activity is launched. But in reality, there could be latency anywhere. For example, in our album detail activity, we might need to load a high-resolution image from the network for the album art. We need some special considerations when creating a shared element transition in this kind of case. Let's take a look. Let's go down to our populate method here in album detail activity. When populating the album art image view, we can use a handler to add a 1-second delay to simulate the latency when loading the image asynchronously from the internet. This is a little trick we can use to simulate latency like dealing with a large download. So here in the populate method, let's add a few lines and say new handler, and then we're going to chain methods. Well, first I'll import it. We want the Android.os handler, and then here we want to call post delayed, and we're going to post this code to run after a slight delay. Now we're going to use a new runnable like we saw earlier, which gives us a method that will run after the delay. So I want to hit Alt plus Enter to implement the run method. Got to add my semicolon here at the very end. And now I can copy this code or cut it and paste it in. I'm just going to copy it, then comment it out, and paste it in here. It'll make it easier for me to undo this little trick in just a moment. Now let's see, why is Android Studio complaining? It's because I forgot a parameter. So here, after the runnable, it ends down here with a curly brace, we need the actual delay. Let's give it a delay of 1 second, which we can represent as 1,000 milliseconds. Okay, let's run this code. And now if we click on any album besides this first one in the upper left, we see that the shared element transition doesn't work at all. Let's try again on a different one. This is because the shared element transition happens fairly early when the new activity shows up. At that point, the image view on the album detail activity is still blank, as it hasn't been properly populated yet. That's why we see the first image popping up and then later being replaced by the actual album art. To work around this issue, Android allows us to postpone the transition and then start it later when the views are ready. So first, we need to postpone it up where we initially set it up. So up here in our setup transitions method, let's go down to the very bottom after we're all done setting up transitions and add a line that says postpone enter transition. Then we can go back to where the image view is populated. So here in the populate method, here we're setting the image view, and this will run again after the 1 second delay. And now we can say start that postponed enter transition. Okay, let's run this and see if it fixes our problem. So now if we click on, again, one of these albums that isn't this one in the upper left, there's the delay, and then the correct image comes in. Okay, cool. Looks like it's working. Let's try it again. Looking good. All right, before we forget, let's remove that pesky delay. I'm just going to get rid of all of this handler code. That's why I commented out, so that we can come back here, uncomment it, save, and be on our way. There are 2 caveats to be aware of. First of all, you don't want to delay the transition for too long, or else the UI will feel sluggish and unresponsive. Remember, getting animations to feel right requires a lot of trial and error with their configuration. Second, remember to always call start postpone enter transition at some point. Otherwise, bad things will happen. You can try to remove the line in the code if you're curious. Finally, it's worth noting that although this technique helps, it's always better to design your app to minimize the latency. Choose proper image size, intelligently prefetch the images, and cache things properly.